Have you noticed that the weight accumulating around your midsection feels fundamentally different lately? It is not the soft, squishy, movable substance that you might find on your hips, your thighs, or the back of your arms. Instead, it feels alarming. It feels solid. It pushes outward with a rigid determination, almost as if there is a firm, overinflated basketball tucked inside your abdomen. This distinct pressure makes it uncomfortable to bend over to tie your shoes. It makes sitting in a low chair a restricted experience. And you may even find that taking a deep, satisfying breath after a large meal feels physically impossible because there is simply no room left for your diaphragm to expand. This hardness is not merely a cosmetic nuisance that ruins the silhouette of your favorite clothes or forces you to buy a larger belt. It is a loud, urgent biological signal. That rigid, drum-like feeling confirms that the fat is not stored safely under your skin, what we call subcutaneous fat, but is packed tightly, dangerously, and strategically around your liver, your pancreas, your kidneys, and woven through your intestines. This is what we call visceral fat, and its hardness tells us that the space inside you is running out. This is exactly why you feel that heavy, dragging fatigue at 2 in the afternoon, a tiredness so deep it feels like gravity has doubled. It is why, no matter how many salads you eat or how many times you dutifully walk around the block, that specific area refuses to budge even an inch. We often look in the mirror with frustration, thinking our body is fighting against us, or that we are simply aging poorly and this is the inevitable decline. But I want you to change that perspective right now. In reality, your body is trying to protect you. That hard belly is a fortress. Your body has built it to shield you from something it perceives as a direct threat floating in your blood. To dissolve this hard belly, we cannot just count calories like a mathematician. We must understand the construction project itself. We must understand why the body decided to build this wall in the first place. To unravel this mystery, we need to look deep into the engine room of your metabolism, the liver. Think of your liver not just as an organ, but as a very busy, highly intelligent warehouse manager. It is the central processing plant for everything you eat, breathe, and absorb. Every time we sit down to a meal, a shipment of energy arrives at the warehouse. When we consume energy, specifically in the form of concentrated sugars, refined flours, processed carbohydrates, and even excessive fruit sugars, the warehouse manager faces a critical logistical problem. You see, the body has a very strict limit on how much sugar can float in the bloodstream at any given time. It is a tiny amount, about 1 teaspoon for your entire blood volume. Anything above that is toxic. High blood sugar is incredibly damaging. It acts like microscopic shards of glass to the delicate lining of your arteries. It causes inflammation in the nerves, and it acts as a neurotoxin to the brain. So, the warehouse manager, your liver, cannot leave these toxic energy packets floating around. He has to clear the loading dock immediately to save your life. In a heroic act of protection, the liver takes this excess energy and, because the glycogen shelves inside the liver are already full from our last meal, it converts that sugar into fat. This process is called de novo lipogenesis, literally making new fat. Since the liver cannot hold all this new fat itself without failing, it packs it into fat cells right next door, inside the abdominal cavity. It is a storage solution for an emergency. It packs the fat in tight, wedging it between the organs to keep the bloodstream clear and safe. So please look at your belly and stop blaming yourself for a lack of willpower. That spare tire is your liver's way of keeping your heart and brain safe from sugar toxicity. It is a survival mechanism that has simply gone on for too long. The problem is not the intent. The problem is that the temporary storage has become permanent. However, the warehouse is now full to the ceiling. The boxes are stacked so high they are blocking the windows. And there is a specific hormone, let's call him the warehouse supervisor, who refuses to let any boxes leave the building. This supervisor is insulin. You have likely heard of it, but we need to understand its mechanical grip on your belly. Normally, insulin is a helpful guide. It knocks on the door of your cells to let energy in to be burned. But after decades of frequent eating, constant snacking, and carbohydrate-rich meals, our cells have become deaf to that knock. They are tired of the noise. They have changed the locks to get some peace and quiet. This is what we call insulin resistance. Think of it like a crowded subway train during rush hour. The train is the cell, the passengers are the fuel, glucose, and insulin is the platform pusher trying to shove more passengers into a car that is already packed tight with people. The doors simply won't open. The passengers, sugar, are left on the platform, the blood. Because the energy cannot get into your muscle cells to be used, your body senses the high sugar and pumps out even more insulin, shouting louder and louder, trying to force the doors open with a crowbar. Here is the critical biological fact that changes everything. In the presence of high insulin, fat burning is biologically impossible. It is a chemical switch. You cannot withdraw money from the bank while the armored truck is depositing money. As long as insulin is circulating in your blood, the exit doors on your fat cells are locked tight. The enzyme responsible for breaking down fat, called hormone-sensitive lipase, is completely blocked by insulin. You could run a marathon, but if your insulin is high, you will burn sugar, you will burn muscle, but you will not burn that belly fat. This is exactly why you can eat a full meal and feel hungry an hour later. It is a cruel paradox. Your cells are starving in the midst of plenty. They are screaming for more food because the fuel is locked outside, floating in your blood but unable to enter, while your belly continues to store the excess. You are essentially malnourished at a cellular level while gaining weight. This metabolic confusion is the root of the hard belly. Do you also feel this heaviness after a meal, or perhaps a sudden crash in energy where you feel you must close your eyes? Write in the comments below. Let me know if you experience that food coma, because you are not alone, and it is the primary sign of this insulin resistance we are discussing. But there is a second, invisible trigger that keeps this fat locked in place, even if you are eating perfectly. We often overlook the profound impact of stress, specifically the hormone cortisol. We tend to think of stress as just feeling anxious or having a bad day at work, but your body sees it as a physical threat to your survival. Your body does not know the difference between a traffic jam, an unpaid bill, a difficult boss, and a tiger chasing you in the savannah. The biological response is identical. When you are stressed, your adrenal glands release cortisol. This hormone's primary job is to mobilize fuel for a fight or flight response. It dumps stored sugar into your blood to help you run from that tiger. It literally breaks down your muscle tissue, specifically from your thighs and glutes, and turns it into glucose. It is an ancient survival program designed to give you a burst of energy to save your life. But in our modern life, there is no tiger. We are just sitting in a chair, worrying. We are sitting in traffic, fuming. So that liberated sugar is not burned off by running. It just sits in the blood. This triggers our old friend insulin, which then takes that sugar and stores it directly back into the belly. But here's the kicker, the detail that explains the shape of your body. Visceral fat cells, the hard ones inside your abdomen, have 4 times more cortisol receptors than the fat cells on your arms or legs. This means your belly is biologically designed to listen to stress. It is a magnet for cortisol. This is exactly why you might see people who have very thin legs and arms, but a large, protruding, hard belly. Their body is breaking down the muscle from their limbs to create quick energy for a fight that never happens, and then storing that energy as fat in the middle. It is a redistribution of mass caused by chronic stress. This is also why you might wake up at 3 a.m. with your mind racing, your heart pounding, and a feeling of alertness that shouldn't be there. It is not just a bad dream, it is a cortisol spike. When your blood sugar drops too low at night because of a stressed liver, cortisol kicks in to raise it. Your body thinks it is in a war zone, and in a war zone, you do not burn your reserves, you hoard them. You cannot diet your way out of a cortisol belly. You have to soothe your way out of it. So, we have the insulin supervisor locking the doors and the cortisol alarm filling the warehouse. To calm them both down, we do not need a magic pill or a grueling exercise routine that raises cortisol further. We need to use the body's own cleaning crew, a metabolic system that only activates when we do one specific thing: nothing. We need to talk about strategic digestive rest, or what is often called intermittent fasting. But let's reframe this. It is not about starvation or deprivation. It is about healing time. It is about giving the warehouse manager a break so he can finally clear the backlog. When you stop eating for roughly 14 to 16 hours, which includes the time you were sleeping, a magnificent process called autophagy begins. This literally means self-eating. Your body, realizing no new food is coming in, starts to look around the house for things to recycle. It finds old, damaged proteins, it cleans up cellular debris, it recycles misfolded enzymes, and it hunts down viruses and bacteria. It is a deep cellular detox. But more importantly for the hard belly, we flip a metabolic switch. Think of your body like a hybrid car. For years, we have been running only on the gas engine, sugar and glucose. We fill the tank every few hours with breakfast, snacks, lunch, and dinner. The tank never goes empty. When we give the digestion a pause, the gas tank finally runs dry. The car does not stop, it simply switches to the electric battery. That battery is your body fat. It takes about 12 hours of fasting to drain the sugar tank completely. The magic happens after hour 12. This is when the liver finally gets the signal: no more shipments coming in, open the reserves. This is why that brain fog lifts in the morning when you haven't eaten. That is the feeling of clean ketone fuel reaching your brain.
Ketones are the byproduct of burning fat. They burn cleaner and more efficiently than sugar, creating less exhaust or oxidative stress in your cells. You feel sharper because your brain loves this fuel. However, the biggest mistake I see, and this is where many people fail and give up, is how they break the fast. This moment is critical. If you go 16 hours without food and then open your eating window with toast, fruit juice, a muffin, or a bowl of cereal, you create a massive problem. You are pouring gasoline on a smoldering fire. Your cells are very sensitive after a fast. They are like a dry sponge ready to absorb water. A sudden rush of carbohydrates causes a violent vertical spike in insulin. Because the cells are so sensitive, they absorb this sugar rapidly, slamming the fat-burning doors shut immediately. This massive spike is often followed by a massive drop, reactive hypoglycemia. This is exactly why you might feel an overwhelming need for a nap after lunch, or why you feel shaky and irritable if you eat a bagel after skipping breakfast. You have flooded the engine and crashed the system. Instead, we must buffer the system. We must treat the body with gentleness. We break the fast with protein and healthy fats, perhaps eggs, avocado, a handful of walnuts, or a piece of fatty salmon. Fat has almost zero impact on insulin. Protein has a moderate impact. By eating this way first, we gently wake up the metabolism without triggering the alarm. We create a steady, flat line of energy rather than a roller coaster. We want to keep the insulin supervisor calm so he doesn't lock the warehouse doors again. We want to stay in that fat-burning mode even while we are eating. Now, I want to share a simple kitchen secret, something your grandmother probably had in her pantry that acts as a biological shield for your liver: apple cider vinegar. Now, I don't want you to think of this as a magic potion that dissolves fat overnight. Biology doesn't work like that. Think of it as a traffic cop for your digestion. When you consume carbohydrates, they usually rush into your blood like a speeding car, spiking your insulin and causing chaos. But the acetic acid in vinegar slows that traffic down. It inhibits the enzymes that break down starches in the stomach. It essentially puts a brake on your gastric emptying, tricking your body into thinking you ate a low-sugar meal even if you didn't. It reduces the glycemic response of a meal by up to 30%. By mixing a tablespoon of organic apple cider vinegar in a tall glass of water and drinking it right before your main meal, you are effectively proofing your cells. You are helping to oil those rusty locks so the energy can get in, rather than being stored directly as belly fat. It improves insulin sensitivity significantly, allowing your pancreas to work less hard. A helpful tip: always drink this mixture with a straw to protect the enamel on your teeth from the acidity, and rinse your mouth with plain water afterwards. It is a small habit, costing pennies, that yields massive metabolic dividends over time. It is the best friend of a recovering liver. I'm curious, have you tried drinking apple cider vinegar before? Did you find the taste too strong, or did you get used to it? Let me know in the comments how you manage it. Some people add a squeeze of lemon or a drop of stevia to help it go down. Now, while we are resting the digestion and buffering the insulin with our traffic cop, we need to send in the heavy-duty cleaning crew. This is where most people get it wrong. They eat fruit thinking it's the healthiest option, but modern fruit is often bred to be very high in fructose. Fructose is unique. It can only be processed by the liver. Giving a fatty liver a lot of fruit is like giving a hangover patient a beer. It is just more work for the organ. We need the opposite. We need liver detergent. I'm talking about the cruciferous vegetable family: broccoli, kale, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, and arugula. We don't eat these just for the fiber or vitamins. We eat them because they contain a potent sulfur-based compound called DIM, diindolyl methane. Think of DIM as a heavy-duty grease stripper for your insides. It supports the liver's phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification pathways. Specifically, these vegetables help the liver process and flush out excess estrogen. Now, you might be thinking, I'm a man, or I'm past menopause, I don't have high estrogen. But in our modern world, we are surrounded by xenoestrogens, chemicals in plastics, styrofoam cups, pesticides, and soy that mimic estrogen in the body. When this hormone is too high relative to others, it creates a condition called estrogen dominance. Estrogen is a growth hormone. When it is unregulated, it specifically commands your body to store fat around the middle and the hips. It creates a stubborn type of weight gain that feels impossible to lose. So we aren't eating rabbit food to punish ourselves. We're eating these greens to provide the raw materials, the soap that your liver is begging for to wash away that toxic backlog. Additionally, these vegetables are packed with potassium. We hear a lot about sodium, but rarely about potassium. Potassium is the physiological opposite of sodium. It calms the nervous system and helps lower insulin requirements. Most of us are severely potassium deficient, which leaves us puffy, inflamed, and holding on to water weight.
By adding a large volume of these steamed or sautéed greens to your dinner, I'm talking about a big bowl, not a tiny garnish. You are physically scrubbing the fatty liver and calming the nervous system. There is one final crucial piece of the puzzle. You can fast, you can use the vinegar, and you can eat the greens, but if you are missing this specific nightly restoration phase, the visceral fat will stay locked tight. We need to talk about the most powerful fat-burning hormone in the human body, human growth hormone, HGH. This is the premier anti-aging hormone. It protects our muscle mass, it burns visceral fat specifically, and it repairs tissue. But HGH is very shy. It does not like to work when you are awake, and it absolutely refuses to work when insulin is present. It mainly comes out to play during the deep waves of sleep, specifically early in the night, triggered by the darkness and the drop in body temperature. Here is the connection that most people miss. Insulin and growth hormone are enemies. They cannot exist in the room at the same time. They are on a seesaw. When one goes up, the other must come down. If you eat a snack while watching TV late at night, even a healthy snack like popcorn, a bowl of grapes, or some yogurt, you raise your insulin. High insulin suppresses growth hormone. By snacking before bed, you have inadvertently turned off your body's natural fat-burning furnace right before it was scheduled to start its shift. You have sent the repair crew home. This is why we feel old, stiff, and groggy in the morning. We missed the repair cycle. We didn't let the night crew come in to fix the building. By stopping eating 3 to 4 hours before bed, we allow insulin to drop significantly. This empty stomach signals the pituitary gland to release HGH, giving it the permission to do its work while we dream. This is not just about weight, it is about regeneration. It is about waking up feeling lighter because your body actually used your fat stores for fuel during the night. It is about waking up with joints that don't ache and a brain that feels clear. So let's bring this into a gentle daily reality. We are not fighting the fat, we are fixing the hormones. The fat is just the symptom. The hormones are the cause. We start by compressing our eating window to allow the liver to rest, aiming for that 16-hour break. Perhaps you finish dinner by 6 p.m. and do not eat until 10 a.m. the next day. This gives the warehouse manager time to clear the floor. We prioritize protein and healthy fats to break our fast, keeping the insulin supervisor quiet and happy. We use simple tools like hydration and apple cider vinegar, our traffic cop, to support the chemistry and slow down the sugar traffic. We load up on cruciferous vegetables, our liver detergent, to strip away the toxins and xenoestrogens that confuse our system. And we protect our sleep with a ferocity, closing the kitchen early to allow the anti-aging magic of HGH to work its wonders in the dark. I know this might feel like a big change, especially if you've been told for years to eat 6 small meals a day or to snack to keep your metabolism up. But look at the results of that advice. Is it working? Usually, that advice just keeps insulin chronically high, never allowing the fat doors to unlock. Your body is incredibly forgiving. It wants to heal. It is waiting for you to stop adding fuel so it can finally burn what it has stored. It just needs the space, the time, and the respect to do so. This information is, of course, for educational purposes. We are exploring the biology of the body, not prescribing medical treatment. Always work with your doctor, especially if you are on medication for blood sugar, as these changes can make your body so efficient that your medication needs might change rapidly. If you found this helpful, you will want to understand the deeper details of how to structure this routine perfectly, specifically regarding which liquids break a fast and which do not. Many people accidentally break their fast with the wrong coffee creamer or supplement. Check out our other video about what breaks a fast, where we go even deeper into the beverages that support this healing process. Take care of yourself, be patient with your body, and I will see you there.